Stephen King's clowns have a message for us. We are living in incredibly turbulent times, and it certainly feels like the world is on the brinks of something huge. It feels as if there's upheaval, there's revolution, all of this is in the air, and it's all coalescing to an event. So oftentimes here on the channel we're looking for synchronicities, signs, symbols, the language of symbols, evidence that the veil is lifting, reality is shifting. Things have been changing really fast over these last few years. So much so that we often find a mirroring effect taking place between what's on media, movies, television, commercials, playing out IRL, in real life. This is just one more example of how that veil is lifting and reality is shifting, and the times we are in now are unlike anything we've ever seen before. Stephen King is considered the master of modern horror. He is one of the most talented and prolific writers of our generation and generations past. He's written over 63 books in over 35 years. And I've recently read and watched dozens of interviews with him that he's done over the last few decades. It's very interesting to see that time and time again he talks about the demons that drove him. He abused so much LSD and cocaine throughout the 80s that he barely remembers many of the books that he actually wrote. And creative people are creators, and creators draw from one of two sources, the light or the dark. These kinds of drugs allow portals into our minds for what I believe are demonic entities. Human beings are puppets, puppets for the Holy Spirit or puppets for the enemy. So we have the master of modern horror that was literally driven by demons to create nightmare fuel that spans decades. A picture tells 1,000 words, and this picture right here speaks for itself. We talk about this eye in many of my videos and much of my work. The eye of the beast system. It's a sign, it's a symbol, it's a signal. Stephen King was driven by the beast for the majority of his work. That's why I find this mirror effect very interesting, because again, we're seeing chaos all around the world right now. We're on the edge of civil war. We're on the edge of world war. We're also seeing this on a smaller level. You're seeing it in your own lives. I see it in mine. It's a division between the sheep and the goats, or the wheat and the tares. Those who are children of God, those who follow Christ, are manifesting that more and more. The children of the goat, the children of the enemy, the children of this new world order, those without the light are manifesting more and more darkness. So as the world seems to be growing darker, as it seems to be we're all waiting on the event, it should come as no surprise that the master of modern horror's work is on full display. There are tons of Stephen King stories that are coming to light right now. And I'm not just talking about one or two movies here. I'm talking tons of Stephen King's work, tons of the master of modern horror's work is coming to a TV or a movie theater near you. As the world becomes more horrific, more horror is coming into the world. But I want to show you something very interesting I found. Stephen King's It is about a creature that manifests in the form of an evil clown. And this evil clown just happens to kidnap and kill children. So of course over the last few years we've had multiple sightings of these creepy clowns all across America and also in other countries as well. So much so you could call this a phenomenon. I've covered that in other videos as well, and I believe this is just yet another manifestation in the physical of the spiritual. of demonic entities. These are wicked entities using human beings as avatars, causing these people to want to dress up as these creepy clowns and commit crimes. In fact, many of these creepy clowns were caught trying to lure children off into the woods or away from their homes. So this is just yet one more manifestation of reality and media mirroring one another. In another sense, it's the duality, the as above, so below, the thinning of the veil. So this is an image of the hexagon on Saturn. Many different researchers have explored these ideas and why that's there. We deal in symbols here. If you go back through your occult history, you'll find that there's a connection between Saturn and Satan. Saturnalia cults, for one, because this world really is run by occultists, by Satanists, if you will, on a higher level, witches and warlocks. So these symbols mean something. They may not mean something to you, but they mean something to them. Ryan Murphy is the creator of American Horror Story, and he, much like Stephen King, is being led by his demons. Every season of American Horror Story is filled with satanic ideas and satanic symbolism as well. This is an image from the new season coming up called Cult. And as you can see, once again, we have that manifestation of the demonic entities in the form of clowns, and they're surrounding the seal of Saturn. Now here's another image for American Horror Story Cult where you can see the beehive in the background, and it's saying, "Join us." So we've covered this symbol as well in the past, and this refers to the hive mind, the satanic hive mind. And here's yet another one of the images from American Horror Story Cult, where once again we see the beehive in the background, and we see the bee right up here on her forehead, where her head's actually been split. You can't really see it at the top, but there's no top to her head. It's just a brain with a bunch of honey on it. So once again, this is in reference to the hive mind, the satanic hive mind. Remember, this is a time where there is a separation between the sheep and the goats. Two sides, two separate hive minds. One is a collective of the Holy Spirit. One is a collective of God's children. The other is a collective of the enemy. The other is a collective of the satanic hive mind, the tares, the goats. And once again, the clowns being a very common manifestation of this idea. So this brings us back to Stephen King. There's a new series out called Mr. Mercedes, and it's from one of his books. And in this book, we have another manifestation of the clown. I watched the first episode of this show, and I was really surprised by what they showed us. I'm going to show you that right now. So in one of the most interesting examples of, again, that mirroring effect of how we see things playing out in reality and also in media, on the first episode of Mr. Mercedes, this was the opening sequence. A large group of unemployed people show up at a city jobs fair. They get there several hours early before it opens just so they can get in and get a good slot. While they're waiting outside, some mysterious person pulls up in a Mercedes and parks there and turns their lights onto the crowd. And of course, after just a few minutes, they reach down to a clown mask in the passenger seat. They slide the mask on. And then they go full throttle right into the crowd. They kill over a dozen people. So again, something I found incredibly interesting is that just a few days after that debut episode of Mr. Mercedes, we had something like this play out in real life in Charlottesville. We had a guy in his car driving full throttle into a crowd of people. That mirror effect. And this is just one example. This kind of stuff happens all the time. But something else I wanted to show you I thought was interesting. So I do believe that all of this is a spiritual language, and it's not for everyone to understand. I wanted to do a screenshot of the timestamp on this, so at 2:52 in the episode, for whatever reason this guy looks down at his phone. And it didn't really make sense. I mean, and it really had nothing to do with the story. It was just the guy looking at his phone. So sure, maybe they just filmed that to show the guy was wondering what time it was. Or maybe there could have been something more to it. But I felt compelled to film this. The driver in the Charlottesville incident claimed to be a Nazi, right? This is what we're told, that he was a Nazi. And that this is why he was doing this stuff. And most of you know that 420 is Hitler's birthday. So 417 was close enough. Once I saw the connection between the car driving into the crowds, I thought maybe this meant something. So I jumped ahead 3 minutes to the point where it'd be 420. And that would be 5:52. And I found it incredibly interesting that right at 5:52, at the 3-minute mark where it would literally be 420 as far as the episode's concerned, this guy takes the brake off on his Mercedes and he heads into the crowd. So maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing, but I thought it was very interesting that it lined up that way. Once again, that connection to reality and our media, our quote, entertainment. So Stephen King's clowns have a message for us. We really are at a time where you need those spiritual eyes, you need that spiritual discernment to discern such things. We have to use our logic, our reason, our common sense, our critical thinking. These are crazy times that only seem to be getting crazier. And it is that time of division between the sheep and the goats. So keeping that in mind, I hope you take care of yourselves out there, and I appreciate you watching the video. Hang in there, stay aware, and I'll talk to you again real soon.